Good evening. Welcome to the program International Children's Day of Broadcasting, brought to you by Abubakar Rimi Television and UNICEF. My name is Aisha Mohammed Zangina. The ICDB is a day set aside for a media campaign by children to promote their rights, especially their rights to participation. As the custom in ARTV, some of my friends and I have been given the opportunity to participate in broadcasting. We will be exploring the experiences of children during the COVID-19 pandemic and what children need now that the world is in the process of healing. Before we continue, we will take a short break.
Look closely. Really closely. Deep into the eyes of a child. See their hope. And ours too. Whoever she is, wherever he lives, every child deserves a childhood. That's why UNICEF is there, for each and every child. Working day in, day out, in 190 countries and territories, reaching the hardest to reach, the furthest from help. It's why we stay to the end and never give up. Will you stand with us?
Stand with us. Stand with us. Stand with us.
For every child.
This year's ICDB is celebrated today, 7th of March 2021. The theme of this year's International Children's Day of Broadcasting, ICDB, captures our call to the world. Unite to reverse the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on children.
Good evening. Welcome back. My name is Khadija Mukhtar Bello, and here with me are
Aisha Mohammed Zangina,
Marvin Nefisat,
Aisha Musa Kukuri,
Ali Abubakar Abdulazeez.
Now let's discuss on how the COVID-19 pandemic affects us in terms of our education. Starting by you, Ali, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic affects you in terms of your education?
Well, the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, has had a disastrous effect on my education because I was unable to be physically present in school due to the temporary closure of schools during the pandemic, and it has heavily hindered my social learning activities. And you know what we learn within the social cycle is very critical to practical learning. And needless to say, we have almost wasted a year at home during the pandemic. And as I grow older, I'm taught not to waste even a minute of my life.
Thank you, Ali, for that. Now, Nafisat, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic have affected your education?
Yes. Good evening, viewers. I'm here to discuss on how the COVID-19 pandemic affects us in our academic activities. Lots of students find it difficult to concentrate on their studies during that COVID-19 pandemic. And it's not all the students that have that access to the internet. Some of us, we have no access to the internet, like the way other students were using their laptops, their computers at home. So, like me, I find it difficult then to concentrate on my study because at home there was noise, like my junior ones disturbing me. So, I did not concentrate on my study during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Nafisa. Aisha, can you tell us what was your experience?
Yes. During the pandemic, there was a lot of difficulties in our life. Our system of education was miserable and our knowledge was backward. Spending more than 6 months at home without attending school or lesson is not that easy. And we as students has missed a lot of our day-to-day activities in school. Our little ones start to find it very difficult to spell some words. And we as students has to reverse what we were taught for better understanding. And the COVID-19 pandemic has put over 850 million children around the world out of school. So I like it.
Thank you, Aisha. Now, Aisha Zangina, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic affects you in terms of education?
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected me in many ways. Like number one, spending 8 months at home doing nothing. Number two, whenever you are concentrating, like she said, your younger ones will be disturbing you, and you can't no longer concentrate. So that really makes me feel bad. Like other children, when the schools are available, other children, the parents can't afford to make them into the school, and now they can't even engage in extra lessons. And when everything has just stopped, you're at home doing nothing, you're just going to sit with your siblings, your elder ones, your younger ones, and your parents. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Now, we've discussed on how the COVID-19 pandemic affects us in terms of our education. Let's discuss the effects of this virus in our social life. Ali, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic affects you in your social life?
Yes, like I said earlier, Khadija, it has affected my social learning activities. Because we students, as we gathered, we bring more ideas, we do learn better.
Yes.
And what we learn within the social cycle is very critical to practical learning. So I find it difficult to cope with that situation because it's a new experience to me.
Yes. Thank you. Nafisa, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic affects you socially?
Yes, like during that COVID-19 period, like for my parents, they find it difficult to go for their work since there's no any means of transportation, so they have to stay at home. And while staying at home, find it difficult to eat. Like some parents during the COVID-19 pandemic, they eat maybe twice in a day, not like before that they ate thrice in a day. And the means of transportation, like the way I do go out during holidays, I go and spend holidays in my auntie's house, my uncle's house. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I did not go anywhere. I was at home because there was no any transportation, nothing like going in and coming out. Everybody was just sitting at home.
Now, thank you. Aisha, can you tell us how the COVID-19 pandemic affects you in terms of your social life?
Yes. During the pandemic, it was awkward and boring, and I hate staying at home. I prefer to wake up in the morning, take my bath, and move to school. But staying at home all the time, doing nothing, no more shopping, no school, no anything, just staying at home with parents and siblings. More especially during lockdown. Vehicles were stopped, we can't travel to any state or visit any of our relatives. And staying at home all the time, this was boring. So I prefer to just go out, see friends, have fun. That's it.
Thank you. Now, Aisha, can you tell us what was your experience?
Yeah, my experience was that every day you receive total of people losing their lives during this pandemic, and children were crying because of hunger. During that period, parents have lost their jobs, and that was their means of getting money to feed their children. And that time, the lockdown has just made everything to stop. No vehicles, no shops were opened, no going to your relatives, no going to your friend's house. Your friend can't even come to your house so that you can chat together, or your cousin. So everything will just stop you and see just staying at home, boring. I was just preoccupied at that time.
Thank you all. So now moving to the streets to hear people's view all over Kano on how the COVID-19 pandemic affected them.
Assalamu alaikum. As you can all see, I am going to play the role of Vox Pop in ARTV Station. My name is Defisa Yakub Adam. I'm here to ask the people on their opinion of their experiences during the coronavirus pandemic. Yawan, ko za ka iya faɗa mana halin da ka shiga ko yanayin da ka shiga a lokacin da cutar corona ya kasance?
Zan iya. Na ɗaya, an kulle mai ba wa yawo. Na biyu, ba a sallah masallacin juma'a. Na uku, ba ma samun abinci. Na hudu, ba ma yawo ko'ina, an kulle gari kuma ba cin kasuwanni. Na biyar, kowa ba zuwa makarantu da makarantun da boko da na arabi.
Za ku iya gaya mana yanayin da kuka shiga lokacin da cutar coronavirus ta zo ta faru?
Za ku iya ga sai a lokacin yanayin da muka shiga ba karatu a gida ake zaune maka da an zo da an koma makaranta sai a ce coronavirus sai a ce an dawo gida sai an kulle makaranta. A lokacin corona ana dawa gida ba a samun isasshen karatu kuma babu abincin da mutane za su ci dai a rinka zama da yunwa.
To mun gode.
So please can you tell us how COVID-19 has affected children?
Yes, honestly, COVID-19 affected children in many ways. One of the ways is that all the schools were all shut down. Loads of schools, children were at home, disturbing parents, nothing to be done. Their education has been stopped.
Ko za ka iya gaya mana yanayin da yara suka shiga during COVID-19?
To gaskiya kamar yadda kika tambaye ni damuwa ta cikin yara lokacin da aka shiga COVID-19 gaskiya da kannanmu da yara da muka gani a zahirance gaskiya an shiga damuwa. Dan damuwa ba wa ƴan karama ta damuwa da zaki ce wai yaro ya dama iya ba, tunda damuwa ma ta shafi iyayensa da duk wani wanda ya damu da damuwar yaro a rayuwa a lokacin COVID-19. Tunda a wannan lokacin yaro ba makaranta ga damuwa ta iyaye ma har ta shafi yara daga ciki. Tunda yaro sai ki ganshi a layi ba makaranta ta Islamiyya babu ta boko, sannan babu abin da ya shafi wanda za a ce an ɗebe wa yaro an kirkira masa shi saboda damuwar ta ɗebe mai kewa ko wajen tuna da karatunsa da yake a makaranta ya bar shi, ko kuma a'a wani abu da zai dan entertainment nasa na rayuwa da zai tabbatar cewa shi yaro ne daga gwamnati zuwa wani abubuwa da ya shafi rayuwa an bashi kulawa ya cancanta. So gaskiya yara sun shiga damuwa ba wai irin karamar damuwa ba, damuwa ta gaske don mu kanmu mun gani da idan mu gano ne ba gaskiya wannan gaskiya damuwa sosai yara sun shiga wannan.
To mun gode. Na Allah ko za ki iya gaya mana yanayin da kika shiga a yayin da aka fara cutar corona?
Gaskiya na shiga wani irin yanayi mara daɗi saboda cuta ce wacce take kashe wannan lafiyar jiki da sauransu.
Da kuma yanayin da yara suka shiga?
Da kuma yadda yara suka shiga cikin hali na rashin jin daɗi sakamakon ba makaranta, ba transportation shine.
I think COVID-19 affected children mostly because schools were shut down and all the educational sectors were shut down, which affected the children because some couldn't even have they could not school in the house, so it affected them there. And some parents are not educated enough to educate their children at home.
Yes.
So it also affected them because the children have to stay at home. They can't socialize with their friends and all.
Thank you. Can you tell us how COVID-19 has affected children?
Yes. COVID-19 affected children in many ways. People are not going out, they are not playing. People are locked at home. Markets are closed. People are not playing with their friends, they are not visiting, traveling. COVID-19 affected people in many ways.
Okay viewers, I hope you've all heard about the opinions of people the situation children were in during the COVID-19 pandemic. Over to you in the studio, Khadija.
Welcome back. Now, as we all heard from the streets the effect of this virus, and you see some of the effect of this virus, for example, the closure of markets, closure of school, and you see some parents are not well educated to even educate their children at home during the lockdown. What can you say about this? How do you feel? Can you tell us, Aisha?
Yes, about food feeding. Many students depend on feeding program at school, most especially the government school. And during the lockdown, no way to go to school, so there will be no food for them, and hunger is not that good enough for them, because hunger can affect many people in this world. And that's the reason why they were just complaining about food, just food.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to say?
Alright, like in the aspect of hospitality, during the COVID-19 pandemic, people were sick, there was death everywhere, death, sickness. So like me, I started imagining, asking God that, oh God, is it that this world is going to come to an end? Because I was very scared then, and religional activities everywhere were shut down. There was no mosques, no church, everywhere was just silence, as if the world wants to come to an end.
Thank you, Nafisa. Do you have anything else to add from what we heard?
Yes. I had many students like those from the public school. They complain about hunger. Yes. During that time, I felt very sad because many parents lose their jobs, and it affects the children indirectly because those children can have that 3 square meal per day, and it really affects. It also affect the poor student, the poor families. Yes, I feel very sad during that time.
Thank you. Now, Zagila, do you have anything to say?
Yes, like she said, religious activities were shut down, no Juma at mosque, and everywhere was shut down. So, like they said about feeding, some children are starving to death, and some children are crying because of hunger. The parents are not having enough to provide for themselves and even to provide for their children. So that makes me feel very bad, and you can't even go out to buy something and help the parents. Everybody was just at home. Lockdown has locked everybody at home.
Thank you. So now let's hear from news bulletin prepared by Fatima Awal Muhammad and Asma Adam.
Welcome to our news bulletin for today, 7th March 2021, which is the International Children's Day of Broadcasting. My name is Fatima Awal Muhammad, and with me is
Asma Adam.
On the news bulletin today, we have updates on how International Children's Day of Broadcasting was marked around the world, while Chelsea Roland and how Wasinisi have a special report on International Children's Day of Broadcasting.
The takeover of media houses was guided by special messages and campaign themes, such as that put forward by the Zambian Office of International Organization, Save the Children, which acknowledged that TV and radio can be the strong voice children need at a time they are experiencing pain, danger, or violence.
Children took over the airways in several countries around the world. In Gambia, children voiced their major concern and called on duty bearers to be responsible in a television program on Gambia Radio Television Series, GTRS. Meanwhile, in West African country, Zambia, a group of young journalists made effort to campaign against COVID-19 and child abuse by starting conversations, identifying cases, and working with leaders to proper solutions.
Child protection in our community is a big issue. Young child, they are the ones who suffer most. They have to drop out from school with this COVID that we had. Some got married and some got pregnant.
Next, we have a special report prepared by some students.
The ICDB was launched in 1991 to encourage broadcasters worldwide to create awareness for children's issues. The International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and UNICEF established the International Children's Day of Broadcasting Award to honor the broadcaster who best embraces the spirit of the ICDB. The International Children's Day of Broadcasting is celebrated by hundreds of broadcasters around the world. These youths write, report, produce, and present programs that allow them to express their thoughts on the issues that affect them. This year's ICDB is celebrated today, 7th of March 2021. The theme of this year's International Children's Day of Broadcasting, ICDB, captures our call to the world. Unite to reverse the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on children.
This is the end of our news bulletin, and over to you, Khadija.
Unreasonable. It's how you have to be if you want to change things. Relentless. Tenacious. The world's children need people like that. People who see impossible as incentive to try harder. Who find one good reason to keep going in the face of 1,000 reasons to stop. So, shout out to the hardcore, because big problems need big solutions from big game players. You know the type, the determined, the persistent, the unreasonable. UNICEF, in more than 190 countries and territories, we never give up until the rights of every child are protected. Are you with us? UNICEF, for every child.
They say, children should be seen and not heard. They say, they'll understand when you're older. You're just a kid. But a kid swam for 3 hours on the open sea to save 18 lives and became an activist for refugees. A kid broke through barriers to keep migrant families together and delivered a message of hope.
Let us fight with love, faith, and courage so that our families will not be destroyed.
A kid was forced to kill in a brutal civil war and became a human rights activist, freeing other children from violence. A kid fought for girls' right to education, was shot in the head in retaliation, and won the Nobel Prize.
This award is not just for me. It is for those forgotten children who want education, who want peace, who want change.
And a kid spoke truth to power, inspiring a historic movement against climate change.
We kids shouldn't have to do this. I wish that the adults would take their responsibility and do this instead. But since no one's doing anything, we have to.
Kids are speaking up. Kids are demanding their rights. Kids are acting now for a better tomorrow. What will you do? They say, children should be seen and not heard.
Look closely. Really closely. Deep into the eyes of a child. See their hope. And ours too. Whoever she is, wherever he lives, every child deserves a childhood. That's why UNICEF is there, for each and every child. Working day in, day out, in 190 countries and territories, reaching the hardest to reach, the furthest from help. It's why we stay to the end and never give up. Will you stand with us?
Stand with us. Stand with us. Stand with us.
For every child.
This year's ICDB is celebrated today, 7th of March 2021. The theme of this year's International Children's Day of Broadcasting, ICDB, captures our call to the world. Unite to reverse the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on children.
Welcome back. That was Fatima Awal Muhammad and Asma Ullah and Adam. Thank you. Here with us is the Chief of UNICEF Field Office in Kano State, Mr. Maulid Warfa. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, we have some questions for you that we need you to answer.
Absolutely.
Starting by you, Aisha.
Sir, as an international organization, how do you intend to show children the way to protect themselves while at school?
Excellent. First of all, before I answer that question, I want to congratulate you all as young people for taking over the media house and organizing your own broadcasting work for the day. That's very important for UNICEF and for other organizations that advocate for children's rights. It's always very, very encouraging and heart feeling to see young people taking over the microphone, going to the field and producing documents and reports that are closer to their heart. For UNICEF, and especially UNICEF in Nigeria and in northern states, the best advice that UNICEF has is for children to be aware of what COVID-19 is, children to be aware on how to manage, protect themselves. There are few key universal steps that everybody needs to know and needs to exercise. The most important thing is no matter where you are, whenever you are with other people, face mask is really very important. Washing your hands all the time and making sure you don't touch things that are not that you're not sure and that can have the traces of the virus is extremely another important step. Social distancing and staying away from crowd and making sure you are not mingling and partying and attending big events is also another critical steps. We know it's very difficult in Kano, for example, but we encourage educators, the teachers, the parents, and all institutions that support children in education to make sure there's adequate social distancing in schools, availability of face masks, availability of either hand sanitizers or hand washing facilities. So I think these are few advices that I could share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now I leave your question.
So what solutions are being preferred to reverse the negative impact of COVID-19 on our education?
Thank you very much. I think this is the a question that has been in our hearts since the beginning of the COVID-19. One good indication in Kano is you guys are so lucky because your governor, His Excellency Abdulazeez Ibrahim, is a staunch supporter of education. He has been doing a lot of outstanding steps to make sure education doesn't get off the radar because of the COVID-19 and because of the need to keep people away from crowds. We work with the Education State Ministry and with sincere thanks to the Commissioner himself and all the different departments of education to make sure in the beginning of the emergency we had push a lot of the education learning into radio, into TV, and into other online platforms that are available. And then when it was the right time to get children back to school, establish something called back to school in a safe manner, meaning introducing guidelines throughout the country that will allow children to go back to school, teaching and learning to continue, but in a way that doesn't spread the virus. So this I think few of the things that we have done together with the support of the state government, and we continue working very closely with the suburb and other education institutions to make sure teaching and learning continue and children are safe. Because for UNICEF, the safety of the children is number one priority, and we work with all the not only the education institutions but all the right parents of the children to understand healthy and productive society. It starts with good children that get all their rights, not only education but all their rights fulfilled, and all their potential capacity also fulfilled, and given the opportunity to build themselves as a society that can take over the leadership. Because not today, in a few years, all the old people will go and you guys will take over. But now for you to be ready by then, you need to start now from the bottom. Good education, a lot of love, a lot of respect, good citizen. And citizenship is not only children go to school and they absorb a lot of pressure, but they need to be filled with love. They need to be lived with respect, filled with respect. They need to live in an environment that respects them. So I think few of those things are what we're promoting.
Thank you, sir. We really appreciate this.
Now, sir, for the next question, sir, can you please tell us how was UNICEF able to intervene in terms of health during the pandemic?
Thank you very much, and that's very important question, because a lot of people understood COVID-19 what was a pandemic that was a health pandemic. UNICEF worked from national level to state level, working with task forces that were established. I personally was a member of the Kano State Task Force, supporting the effort of the state to make sure there are adequate measures of preparations when the pandemic was starting, and then later when the pandemic was full blown, our health colleagues and our health units were working with the state health departments. We have worked with a lot of the different health state institutions in what we call the RCCE, in terms of risk communication and social mobilization. We have, as a UNICEF and WHO, and working together with other health institutions, a system that was already in place to deal with the polio. And then it was so easy for us to roll out that system and together with the state work out on mechanisms to send message, work with people who get the message, people who are listen, and work with them. And also we contributed to the UN package that was supporting the state for getting some of the essential supplies for COVID-19. And now today, thank God, with the help of a lot of other institutions, WHO, Gavi, and many others, we are able to now have a vaccine in the country. 3.92 million doses are in the country, and portion for Kano should be coming in the next few days. And hopefully we will continue working with the state, and things will start improving, and life will go back, and you guys will start soon, inshallah, playing football and, you know, joining with your friends, socializing with your friends.
Thank you very much, sir. Nafisa, go ahead with your question.
Alright, sir. The awareness for child protection during the COVID-19 pandemic has little effects on rural community. How does UNICEF intend to reach out such communities using their traditional rulers and authorities?
Can you read the question for me, please, again?
Alright, sir.
I'm sorry.
The awareness for child protection during COVID-19 pandemic has little effect on rural community. How does UNICEF intend to reach out such communities using their local authorities and traditional rulers?
Thank you very, very much. And child protection and protecting of the children is one of the key pillars of UNICEF, and we work with the federal and state institutions to make sure rights of the children are fulfilled. First of all, before I go back to the question on specific rural communities that were affected by the pandemic, we were working with the state, and with sincere thanks to the Governor, His Excellency, and a lot of the others who supported domestication of Child Rights Act. And once the Child Rights Act is domesticated, a lot of the child protection related issues will be addressed. They're looking at you, I think. So what we trying to do.
Thank you, sir, for answering the question. Now we take a short break. We'll be back.
They say children should be seen and not heard. They say they'll understand when you're older. You're just a kid. But a kid swam for 3 hours on the open sea to save 18 lives and became an activist for refugees. A kid broke through barriers to keep migrant families together and delivered a message of hope.
Let us fight with love, faith, and courage so that our families will not be destroyed.
A kid was forced to kill in a brutal civil war and became a human rights activist, freeing other children from violence. A kid fought for girls' right to education, was shot in the head in retaliation, and won the Nobel Prize.
This award is not just for me. It is for those forgotten children who want education, who want peace, who want change.
And a kid spoke truth to power, inspiring a historic movement against climate change.
We kids shouldn't have to do this. I wish that the adults would take their responsibility and do this instead. But since no one's doing anything, we have to.
Kids are speaking up. Kids are demanding their rights. Kids are acting now for a better tomorrow. What will you do?
Unreasonable. It's how you have to be if you want to change things. Relentless. Tenacious. The world's children need people like that. People who see impossible as incentive to try harder. Who find one good reason to keep going in the face of 1,000 reasons to stop. So, shout out to the hardcore. Because big problems need big solutions from big game players. You know the type. The determined, the persistent, the unreasonable. UNICEF, in more than 190 countries and territories. We never give up until the rights of every child are protected. Are you with us? UNICEF, for every child.
Welcome back. You are still watching the International Children's Day of Broadcasting, and here with us, as we say, is the Chief of UNICEF Field Office in Kano State, Mr. Maulid Warfa. Sir, as you are saying before we went for the break, you were saying something. Can we continue?
Yes. So, as I was saying earlier, when the COVID-19 outbreak happened, the children unfortunately became victim number one of the outbreak or the pandemic. As you rightly in one of your earlier questions was saying, children have to stay home, schools are closed, many markets were closed, religion activities closed, a lot of things that children used to make, used to get their joy cease to exist, and a lot of children stay at home. That has a lot of implications to children, of course, education and discontinuation of their learning, because their growth has a lot to do with the education, and their learning was suspended and has a lot of effect on children. Their socialization and sports activities with their children also affected. But unfortunately, globally, as a lot of the data suggests, as children are to stay home and parents are to stay with them and other predators also stay home, a lot of bad abuses happen, and children became victims of a lot of domestic and violent abuse victims. And we have seen in some of the centers that we visited, many young children that became victims of because people are getting frustrated, and when bad people get frustrated, they take their frustration back to children. So I think with that, we're working with the Ministry of Women Affairs, and we have, with the support of other great partners that we have, established a technical working groups to look into what we call gender-based violence against women and children. So that this team are looking into how to support the Ministry of Women Affairs and other service providers on making sure there are mechanisms to protect children. So whether it's the rural areas, whether it's urban areas, whether it's other semi-urban centers, the Ministry of Women Affairs, other child protection related partners, and other government institutions are working together to ensure children's rights are adhered to and fulfilled. And I'm very, very grateful and appreciating, with congratulations to the Kano State institutions on the great work they've done in protecting children. And we will continue working with them very closely.
Thank
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir, talking about the COVID-19 vaccine, many of us kids are under 18, and the vaccine, as we learned, is supposed to be for 18 and above. What should be the stake for the kids there?
Well, it's a very difficult question, and it's a scientific question that not a lot of people can answer. But I think, first of all, what has been observed throughout 2020 is children, even though they get in contact with the virus, do not produce dangerous symptoms, and therefore they are not sick mostly, but possible they get in contact with the virus. The good news is, if the vaccination goes to the wider community, frontline workers are vaccinated, elderly people are vaccinated, people continue wearing face masks, social distancing, hand washing, and a lot of other measures that are taken, we believe the virus will stop spreading, and therefore children will be safe, and business can go back to usual, schools will continue opening, sports facilities will happen. But so far, the scientists globally are working on what to do and how to address the situation of young people. It's a question that requires a lot of technicians and scientists to answer.
Alright, sir.
Yeah.
Alright, sir. Sir, how long have you been in Kano?
I have been in Kano since August 2019, and that's almost a year and
Can I
5
tell
months.
the way you understand Hausa?
You want to test me? I only know if you want to see. Go there. Thank you so much. But I want to ask you a very quick question while we're still in this. um, what are your dreams? What are real dreams that you guys have in the near future? And maybe start with you, Sia, since you are my next door neighbor.
Alright, sir. As for me, I want to become a surgeon.
Ah,
So I would
fantastic.
like to study medicine and surgery.
Very good. And what about you, Aisha?
Actually, I want to be a journalist.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Now you're here, don't leave. Huh? Keep doing it. What about you,
I
Baba?
want to be a pharmacist.
Wow.
Very good.
Yes,
And
actually, I want to study agricultural science because people are dying of hunger.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think with this, I would like to take this opportunity as we are getting towards the end of the program to congratulate first of all to the leadership, starting with His Excellency the Governor and all the commissioners that since I came to Kano, I came to appreciate the great work they're doing. I also want to call on parents, educators, all institutions to work together and produce a society that if we don't invest in them today will not replace them tomorrow. A society that's healthy, and I'm talking about the young society and the young children that we have. I did a lot of sociology work, and we say the difference between modernity and primitive society is very thin line that a modern person believes they excel in life because of what they achieve, the hard work they achieve. But primitive and primordial society think of they excel in life because of who their parents and their fathers and their great grandchildren are. So it's between me and what I can achieve and me who I am, the son of so and so and so. So I think we want to encourage the young children to impress independency, impress hard work, and really think of how much they can take the bar high. And technology today proves that the sky is only the limit. And actually it's not the limit because we landed in Mars. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, sir, for the last question, as you said, sir, can you please advise the viewers on what are the most important things children need now that the world is in the process of healing from the pandemic?
I think what children need to, what priority that everybody should give children is to tell children it's okay if they are angry to be angry. It's okay if they're sad to be sad. We are facing difficult time, but there's a beautiful world ahead of them. And I would really encourage parents, I would encourage teachers, I would encourage institutions that support children to talk to the children, listen to the children. And I also encourage the children to take their voice by themselves. Because in today's world, if you do not stand up for your right, if you do not stand up for your own participation of things that affect you, others will make a decision on your behalf, and sometimes the decisions they make are not the best interest of you. And I'm not saying parents are not making decisions on best interest of the children, but I'm saying sometimes it's good, not sometimes, always it's good to include children in the discussion. In the West, children at the age of 5 and above are listened, and what they ask for and what they want is guided through with the best interest of theirs, and their desires and dreams and aspirations are molded together for them to become what they want to become. And that's my word of advice. As we go through this difficult time, I would encourage parents, government institutions, listen to the children and do not ignore their voices. Their voices are as important as the words and advices that are given to them.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I really appreciate the effort of UNICEF and the state government. But sir, I have one thing to add. Good enough is not good if it can be better. And also better is not enough if it can be best.
Yes.
So our education and our health really matters.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. This is really the key point here, that UNICEF is here, and it's here to stay, and it's here to work with the government institutions, especially education institutions and health institutions. And I want to assure you very soon, and I was just talking to my colleague, that we want to create a platform for children, and want to have this model children. In other places, we have something called Model UN Children, a group of young children who would come one day and take over our offices. And I'm promising this now, in a short time, that we will want to see young people who can come over to the office, learn from us, work with us, we model them, and in no time they take over. So that I think I promise that I will do that before I finish my tenure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And you see, this is an opportunity for us, as in we children. It is an opportunity that we know our rights.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks.
And you're all welcome to the office. Our office is children's office. Very soon we will have a bigger office. Construction of our new office is underway. But once it's built fully, there will be a section for young aspirants like you to come and do whatever you want to do. Whatever. And I mean whatever.
We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maulid Warfa. And here comes to the end of our program, the International Children's Day of Broadcasting. Thank you all for watching us. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you all. Thank you.